For the past couple of days, I've been musing over how I should start this video and thinking to myself, what would be the perfect start to probably the best show about complex trauma in the decades that I've seen, better than BoJack Horseman even. Well, I thought of the perfect way to start it. What would you rather be stuck in the forest with, a man or Martha or a bear? Which one? Which is the worst one? Because the man versus bear thing is kind of going and trending right now, so let's start with that. I would rather be stuck with a bear. I wouldn't choose a man or Martha, because Martha is an insane stalker. However, would you rather be stuck in the forest with Richard, a man, or a bear? In reality, none of these people seem good, because Baby Reindeer doesn't even try to make Richard seem like a good person. The entire point of Baby Reindeer is to show horrible people, and I love that. It's not even showing horrible people in some capacities, it's really just showing people, because this is how people are. We're not good or bad. Even in the show, Richard multiple times states that Martha is not good or bad, she's just mentally unwell. It is so powerful to me to see mental illness portrayed in a way that doesn't discredit the illness in itself, but simply showcases it for everybody to see. And when left for everybody to judge, they don't want to look at themselves, so they initially judge it incorrectly and harshly. Let's talk about Baby Reindeer in the show. It starts off with Richard. Oh, amazing Richard. He's a barkeep, and he meets this woman named Martha, who he gives a free drink. And by doing that, he gained himself a stalker. Now, initially, you would think, oh, well, a stalker's not good. And that's bad. Richard, however, is not sure of himself. He's cowardly. He loves the attention. He craves horrible situations. He puts himself in these evilly complex and stupid situations because he himself craves it. He reminds me a lot of myself. Wanting adventure, knowing that uncertainty is the only thing certain in his life, so he seeks it out deeply and intrinsically. That is what he wants. And that is the beauty of it. He puts himself in situations he could probably have easily avoided by simply telling the truth about the situation, but he doesn't. And he ends up misconstruing Martha, perhaps even stating maybe I said something wrong, and perhaps I made the joke go on a bit too far, making Martha think he has a relationship with her. And that is the entire thing of the show. Telling the truth is a lot simpler and easier. Even later in the show, he tells the truth to his parents about his sexuality, and that in itself is amazing. And he goes to say it is much easier to tell the truth. However, even after this instance, he still lies to himself. Later in the show, becoming obsessive just like Martha, obsessing over the 310 voicemails that are left on his phone and the 41,000 emails, because all of them are about him. This is a true masterclass of narcissism. We are watching Richard talk about himself in the worst light possible. He is not trying to portray himself as better or good or even different than Martha. He makes many allusions and aversions to saying he himself is a lot like Martha, both mentally unwell. However, now the crux becomes Martha is now what the public seems to be focused on. Martha initially started all this. She was obsessed with a nice guy who gave her the time of day, and Martha was so excited about somebody finally giving her that time of day, previously being a stalker and now stalking Richard. And people are downplaying the actual reality of what Martha is. Martha is mentally unwell, and people have now sent her threats and things of that variety, and have now brought this into the real life, because the real life Martha did an interview with Piers Morgan where she is caught in multiple lies, and it's showing that the depiction of Martha is initially true and the depiction of Richard is very true, even down to the part in the show where he's talking and doing stand-up to everybody in front of them, and he's giving his entire life story about how he's in love with this transgender woman and explaining all these things in his life, even to the part where Martha continually battered him and called him a homosexual. She calls him a homosexual in the Piers Morgan interview, thus alluding to the cross references in the show. The show is a masterclass in complex trauma and narcissism. It is the greatest of shows that I've seen in quite some time. One of the only shows that I've seen accurately depict how complex and deep the issues can be with somebody that goes through issues such as this. And I'm seeing people misconstrue the show. taking the show not for what it is, for what they think it is, saying, oh, we got to find Martha, we got to figure out about this crazy woman, when in reality, he even stated the show wasn't about Martha. It's to depict that men can be harassed, men can be assaulted, and men like him also sometimes crave it and can become just as bad. It's to be sympathetic to not only the person that is getting abused, but sympathetic to initially the abuser, because both of them are in this kind of weaving tapestry where the person becomes what they make. You know what I mean? Maybe you don't. Let me explain it better. Have you ever been hurt as a child by a father or a mother or something of that variety, and you yourself now are angry and violent? You learn that behavior, so you emulate that behavior because that's what you know, is what you're comfortable with, is what makes sense to you. And what was making sense to Richard was the fact of the obsession. The obsession made him feel good, so he became obsessed with the obsessor. He listened to the voicemails like a podcast. He stated that he organized everything. He became the obsessed. It is beautiful to see this inverse in on itself of something so beautiful getting destroyed in on itself. I've never seen something so amazing. I've always seen shows, one a good guy and a bad guy, care so deeply about the narrative of having, oh, this person is inherently good and this person is inherently evil. Both were so complex. Martha was so complex, or Fiona Harvey, or whatever her name was. Richard is so complex. The show writer, who actually is an actor in the show, very deep in the aspect that they are both broken people. And nobody is seeming to grasp this simple concept that it is not all black and white. The entire show is morally gray, every single aspect of it, to the point where he was sleeping with a transgender woman, thinking of Martha when he wasn't even attracted to Martha, simply on the fact of the matter that Martha was obsessed with him, becoming obsessed with the obsessor because he loved it in himself so deeply. That's narcissism. Martha and him were both narcissists in different capacities. They both had narcissistic traits. They both wanted this so deeply. It is insane to witness. A few things people say about the show that I don't understand. Richard has stated that Martha didn't go to prison because of him at all. That had been stated. Simply put, he put that in the show in order to have a verge in reality and fiction, to make people not want to seek it out, to make people think they can find something and leave breadcrumb trails to nothing, to just an empty, vast field of nothingness. And people still found it because people are so obsessed with it. That's scary. Richard has now turned us into the obsessors, obsessing over somebody that is obviously obsessive. He has done it again. He has continued this cycle. It is strange. We are now becoming the obsessors. We want to know about Fiona. We want to know about Richard. We want to know the story. And that's the beauty of online entertainment, because we can find things really easily. We can interview, we can hear, we can pick things apart, we can replay it over and over again, the same way Richard did at the end of the show, where he was listening to all of those things, trying to find the reasoning, because he was so curious about understanding her that he drove himself mad trying to understand where it all started. Why? What did baby reindeer all mean? This is complex trauma. He even gets assaulted in the show and goes back to the person that assaulted him, becomes friends with that person again, because that is how it goes. You ever go back to an abusive ex and everybody around you tells you why you're doing that, and then your friends do the same thing and it's over and it's a loop and it's a loop, it's a loop? That's what happens. That's what happens with abuse. It is not simple, clean and dry. It is not easy for everybody to understand. It is dark, it is deep, it is depressing. It is life. What is better, to be born good or through extreme effort to combat a great evil inside you? Neither. Neither are better, because the result will always be the same at the end of the day. It is so sad to see somebody pour their life story, soul, and heart, something that we didn't even know, becoming one of the greatest shows that I've seen in my lifetime, something about a very real event. This is amazing. Hopefully this makes men open up and talk more about their SAs or things of that variety. I would love that, because men don't talk about it enough. He's so open about his sexuality throughout the show. He doesn't know if he's bi, pan, nothing like that. He just wants to feel alive. That's what he wants. And it's shown throughout the show that he doesn't care. He's supposed to feel like a person, scared of commitment, has commitment issues, is a narcissist, couldn't even love the most perfect woman in his life because he was scared of the world. That's beautiful. That is art. This show is a perfect masterclass in narcissism and complex trauma. This show is amazing in all fronts, and we have spoiled it. We have desperately spoiled it, and I hate that. And I have to live with this, because we ruined something that could have been amazing. The only silver lining I can see is that men will talk about SA more, but we somehow ruined this, and I'm sad about it.